call this to order? Great. Okay, so I'm very pleased that anyone is watching. My name is Sheila McDonald. I'm the board chair, and I'm very pleased to convene this meeting, call it to order on Tuesday, 29th, 2020 at 7 p.m. First, the Board of Education would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territories of the Comox First Nation. We would like to thank them for the privilege of living on their land and the gift of working with their children. Today is a day when this acknowledgement really means a great deal. This week, I want to remind everyone that tomorrow our district will participate in the Orange Shirt Day, which is an event, a very special day focusing on the tragedy of Canada's residential school system. We're remembering the children taken from their families, and we're thinking about those that never went home to their communities. We're thinking of the experiences and the impacts of the children who attended, the resiliency of their survivors, and of the work that we have to do together in reconciliation. So I hope that you'll all remember to wear orange tomorrow. I hope that the schools will be celebrating and learning about this, and that this is a day that is part of the changes that we need to see in our country. So that acknowledgement is real. It means a lot to all of us, and this is one of the ways in which we make it real in our district. So moving on from that, for the adoption of the agenda, are there any additions? We have quite a short agenda, but are there any additions? Okay, I do want to just touch on at the very end on the matter of the BCFTA has asked us for a response and advocacy, and I just have a bit of a proposal of how we might handle that, working with the senior management. So if we can put that on the very last item, and it'll only take a few moments, if that's all right with people. No objections to that. Could we, so that's like item D then. And if, could I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Oh, okay, thank you, Trustee Howe. Second, Trustee Caton, thank you. All in favor? Are we all good? Any opposed? Right, okay. So our board business here, the appointment of the Chief Election Officer, I will let that go to our Secretary Treasurer if you have any information to give us before we look at this recommendation.
Thank you, Chair. No, I don't have a lot to add other than it was quite an endeavor to find someone to agree to be our Chief Election Officer. I think I mentioned previously, I reached out to probably 6 or 7 different people, people who have run elections before, retired CAOs, and unfortunately, everyone that I reached out to was either unavailable or unwilling for whatever reason to assist us. But we were fortunate enough to find someone, Clyde Woolman, who has agreed to be our Chief Election Officer. So the first step tonight is to appoint both our Chief Election Officer and a Deputy Election Officer. And once they've been appointed, Clyde will come in, sign a contract with us, take an oath in my office, and then off and running he goes with our by-election.
So I'll make the motion that we appoint Clyde Woolman as our Chief Election Officer with thanks.
Could you read the motion, Janice, please?
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Sorry, I'm pulling up my iPhone and it's kind of small. Okay.
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay. That pursuant to the Local Government Act, Clyde Woolman be appointed Chief Election Officer for conducting the 2020 by-election in Trustee Electoral Area C, Puntledge Black Creek for the Board of Education of SD 71 Comox, with the power to appoint other election officials as required for the administration and conduct of the 2020 by-election.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Thanks, Trustee Waite. And any questions or comments at this time?
I just say thank you to Mr. Woolman for conducting election during a pandemic with all that stuff that's going on. We're really fortunate that he's agreed to that so we can move forward in filling the vacancy and continuing on our advocacy for all our districts. So thank you, Clyde, Mr. Woolman.
Mhm. Yes, knowing Clyde, I think you've managed to find another kind of a treat for him, something new to put on his very extended resume of things that he's done and in all the different ways he supports education. So I think it's great. If there are no more comments, then could I just say all in favor and raise your hands? I can see you all. Great. Okay. And any opposed? No, that would be all of us anyway. So that's great. Thank you. And for the next, the appointment of the deputy election officer, do I have someone who will make a motion on that? Okay.
I'm happy to do it.
Let's see how. Do we need you to just read that sentence? Have you got
That
it?
Marlene Leach be appointed Deputy Chief Election Officer for the 2020 by-election.
And I'll second that.
Thank you so much, Trustee Caton. Okay, any comments on that? All right, all in favor? Wave at me. Thank you so much. There's none opposed, so thank you very much for taking care of this, and please follow up on that, Secretary Treasurer, and look forward to having some good candidates step up and for the area. That's great. So the British Columbia School Trustee Association Provincial Council resolutions. Trustee Caton, you'd like to present some information and get some feedback on it?
Okay, just process for information and how trustees want to proceed. Our PC meeting will be in October. There will be a number of motions coming forward. Some are coming back from AGM that did not pass, and on that one there. So I just want to get a sense from trustees how you would like to present the information to give me the feedback, because I vote on behalf of the board, not myself. So couple of options. I can send trustees all the motions and we can by email consensus, give me some feedback. We could at the end of the education committee meeting that's coming up prior to that, have on education, have a dialogue in person, or we can have a special board meeting. I'm open to how you want me to present those motions at PC. I think right now there's probably about 6 or 7 that are coming from AGM, and I know there's at least 2 or 3 coming to PC. So I'm just looking for some direction on how you would like me to represent the Board of Education at the Provincial Council meeting and voting on those motions. So that's basically my ask.
Great, I appreciate that, consultation piece so that we have our input. So any comments from people? I think the first step would be when they're here, send them out to all of us. But is there a general sense at this point from any of you, a preference at this point, or do we wait and see what they contain? Those are all of those options can be put in place if we need to. It's maybe a bit now. Yeah, Trustee Wait.
So, is there more than 9?
At
There
this,
don't appear to be that many, but
Well,
are they complete at this point?
no, they're not complete. The motions that are on right now on the BCSD Hub are the ones that have been carried over from the Academy that we didn't have Academy. And the Legislative Committee is continuing right now to review all the motions that came through. So no, it's not complete. I don't know how many are going to be there, to be honest, and I don't know what's going to happen until we get our final agenda, which is usually about the second week of October. So I think there's going to be there may be up to 10. There could be maybe 6 or 7. I honestly don't know, but they've scheduled us from 9:30 to 4:30. Like they've scheduled us on Zoom for a full day. So it sounds like there's going to be more than a couple, at least.
Sounds like something we might even have a bit of a survey, like what are those monkey something surveys, and for each question, do you agree or not, but the opportunity to ask questions for any of us that aren't really versed or up to speed on some of the issues could be really useful too, Jana. So,
Yeah, so maybe what I'll do is once I get all the motions, I will forward you, once I get the agenda for provincial council, I will forward you the agenda with all the motions. And looking at that, maybe through you, Madam Chair, we can determine how best we want to move forward. Like I said, I think there's a couple regarding communications. I know Nanaimo is bringing forth a motion to PC, looking at effective communication between the Ministry of Education, Boards of Education, especially there's concern about how the communication came out with a rollout, back to school rollout. So there may be a few things on there that will be of interest. So at this moment, if everyone's in approval and agreement, what I'll do is I will send you the motions when I get them. And we'll look at them, and through you, Madam Chair, we can determine how to move forward, if that would be adequate to everybody. I don't think we need to have a public meeting debating them. Some boards do. In the past, we've gone through consensus via email or education committee. So I will do that if that's okay with everybody, and we will go from there.
it sounds like a good plan, because until we get them and take a look at them, we're not sure whether they're simply things that are ones that we definitely agree and support, or they're ones that we want to have a bit more conversation or some more background. Does that make sense to everybody, that we will count on this coming as soon as it can from Trustee Caton, and we'll come back to this question by email, asking what people think?
Okay, so
Yeah.
taking that, I will do that. And
Okay.
also, we will have our business meeting this Saturday at Vista. So the
Yeah.
main information will come out of that. Will maybe contribute to how we move forward on some of the motions, because one of them is the Vista branch motion regarding student engagement and student participation and BCSDA. So I will take that as, I will send you all that when I get the information.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So the last item was just the BCSDA have asked us to complete a survey on some of the back to school issues that have come up, and are wanting to be able to kind of summarize the different experiences of all the districts. And I did send that survey to you all with a link. I'm not sure if it was something that kind of rose to the top. They are looking for a lot of that information. I mean, we've already heard that it's had an impact on our DL program, but they're looking for some more specifics. But the superintendent will be able to put together the answers to some of that. But the main questions are, what are the issues that they would like us to engage in some advocacy around? And so I am interested in having opinions from all of you about what you think, given the circumstances, the priority for our organization, speaking on our behalf, might be. But they're also looking for quite a short turnaround, and it's not a complicated survey. It didn't seem that it would be worth dedicating a great deal of time or a special meeting to. But so what I was suggesting with the superintendent is he will try to get this first run at the document, putting some numbers together for us. Then we can send that to all of you. And if things come up that really strike you as important issues, you can just share them with us all by email, and I'll use that input to put together our final response. So does that seem reasonable? Is there anybody who would like to be more involved in this process and take it on at this time? Please speak up.
When I read it, it looked a lot more looking for operational side.
Yeah.
More so than governance side. So I think that the way you talked about doing it, Madam Chair Sheila, is actually makes a lot of sense. And I think that that I would support the process, and then getting it after, and maybe having a quick session like this, that we can just maybe, rather than going back email to email, having maybe 10-minute or 15-minute meeting where we can look at it and then have that conversation, because the email chain sometimes gets diluted and it gets lost with all the emails we're getting. So I think that if you could arrange a meeting after, just a short one, if people want, we can have just a consensus if there's a need for that talk. But the email back and forth is sometimes confusing when you've got 15, 20 emails you gotta go through.
That is so true. Trustee Waite, did you have a comment?
My comment was that when I looked at the survey, there was a large portion of it that would be information that we would need to gather through the superintendent or the senior team, and that those questions, those more specific questions, I think there should be a way for us to have some sort of method to have a communication to make a decision, but they didn't feel like they were that onerous once we figured out how to have the communication.
Yes, superintendent.
So I worked on the survey this afternoon and completed the majority of it. There's a few things that we need to do tomorrow regarding financial information that I'll work with the secretary treasurer to clear up. And once that's done, I think there's 3 or 4 very specific trustee related questions in terms of you're correct, Madam Chair, around advocacy and what are some areas. So I will get that off to you tomorrow at some point.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a few days at least or a couple of days to have a look at it and digest that information and proceed.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, because I know you kind of had to fast track that one into a very, very busy schedule of all the other things you're doing. So I appreciate it, but we can get it out of the way. And then the advocacy question will be ongoing. And we want to know also what kind of, what priorities you identify for our particular district. That's you really hold a lot of the information we need. So I appreciate your work on that. And yeah, Trustee Kate, and I see your point about all the emails, but if we can get that and then get a few preliminary feedback, and if perhaps a summary of that feedback would, one thing that takes all those suggestions and will help. And if not, we can get back on phone or on this lovely format with all our smiling faces, and subject to Josh's support for us, then we'll be able to get in a good response to them. And yeah, thank you all. So I have nothing else at this point. Is there anything else that we need to share? I hope everyone has a lovely evening. I thank all of our staff so much for all of the work that you've been doing, and just feel like we are a very fortunate district as a whole. So the partnerships and the individuals that are just stars. So thank you so much, and we will no doubt be in touch.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Sheila.
Have a good evening.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everybody.
So is there a motion to adjourn? Is that what?